what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
These are weapons of war. I'm a Second Amendment guy. I have 2 shotguns. My sons have shotguns. But our states, everybody thinks somehow the Second Amendment is absolute. You're not allowed to go out and own an automatic weapon. You're not allowed to own a machine gun. You're not allowed to own a flamethrower. You're not allowed to own so many other things. Why in God's name do we allow these weapons of war in our streets and at our schools? These guns are this is hard to believe. I never thought when I started my public life that guns would be the #1 killer of children in America. Guns. #1.
I want to compliment Joe Biden this morning. I know that's usually not what we do, and people go, why drink it? You're complimenting Joe Biden? Here's what I'm going to compliment him on. He is consistent in his lies. Let's break that down. Good morning. Welcome into the show. We want to do this before we get in. Josh Hawley, you got to hear what Josh Hawley said yesterday. Stupefied Democrats are like, we don't know how to react to this. We're going to get to that here in just a couple of minutes. So let's cover the lies. And again, remember, this is why this is important. This is not about railing on the president of the United States of America. That's not what this is about. This is about calling people on their lies, because he gets up there, gets to the podium, says these things, and then all the national TV outlets, they play these lies, and they don't fact check or push back on at least 3 lies. That's pretty impressive. 3 lies in a span of 32 seconds. Let's give it up for Joe Biden this morning. Big round of applause.
That's like Santos level lying, I'm pretty sure.
So the first lie, he talking about it's illegal to own a flamethrower. It's illegal to own a machine gun in the United States. It is not illegal to own a flamethrower. It is not illegal to own a machine gun. There are certain requirements. There are already certain restrictions on that Second Amendment aspect of it, but it is not against the law. So the president, and I know he knows that he's lying to you, but he also knows the TV outlet's going to take the video clip and play it, and people that are less intelligent than us here in this room this morning are going to watch. Did you see Joe said that this is and it's not true. Just not true. He'd also previously said the Second Amendment banned ownership of cannons. You can legally own a cannon. If you wanted to, you could.
I mean, people at football games shoot cannons, right?
Yeah, good point.
That's what.
That's
true. ROTC, but yeah.
You're right. And cousin Andy in for Brian Houseworth this morning. By the way,
he's got a cannon.
Yeah, he does.
I wish.
Got 2 of them right here, baby.
Sure.
So you can own a cannon. The other thing, and I think the most glaring lie, and this is where they pray, again, it's all emotions with a lot of the far left Democrats. It's emotions. It's not common sense. It's not thinking with your brain. It's rainbows and unicorns. So here now he's going after the kids. This is hard to believe, and you heard the comments there. It's hard to believe. I never thought when I started my public life that guns would be the #1 killer of children in America. Guns, #1. That is simply not true. And here's how I found this out. I went to Google.
You went to a government website.
Yes. Yeah, government website. Did I tell the story? My son's 2 half-brothers went skiing last month and was talking to their 12 and 14, and I'm asking, what do you like to do? They like to, one of them, the older one, he likes to write essays that debunk commonly held beliefs. Okay. And he was talking about then you have to cite. You have to include links to back up what you're saying. The stunner, you can only use websites that end in .edu or .gov. This is in a public school, in a very conservative, part of a very conservative state. If you want to disprove something that is being told to you, you can, but only by using a .gov website or .edu. Complete and utter BS. So I did some deep research on Biden's claims that guns are the #1 killer of kids.
And this is the CDC. So to remind you, we're paying people to collect this data, paying someone else to post it on a government website, but like the president doesn't read it, just disregards it. I mean, we're paying for this, and he's just completely wrong. I mean, absolutely wrong.
But whenever the CDC gets talking about how beneficial the COVID vaccine boosters are, then it's the holy grail.
Then we're paying attention.
To the CDC, according to the CDC, Motor vehicles, number one death of kids, far and away. Motor vehicle accidents.
And it's not even close. I mean, so in unintentional injury, it's showing motor vehicle deaths accounted for more than 2,000 of the 4,500 deaths, and firearms accounted for 120. And then there's another category under homicide. And again, guns is not number one.
But that clip gets played on ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, and nobody checks it. Like, oh yeah, number one cause of death for kids is guns, and it's just simply not true. The President of the United States continues to lie to you. And again, when he gets out there and makes these speeches, if you're somebody who voted for Biden, you're a regretful Biden voter, and you're new here to Wake Up Mid-Missouri, we appreciate you. We try to explain how these things work, why these things matter. But if you voted for Biden, please watch video clips of him from even 2 years ago. I'm not kidding. Watch. Every time this guy gets up, it's like before he goes up to the podium, somebody took a cattle prod to him. And he gets up to the podium, and he's got this, he's vacant. He doesn't know what's going on, and that is important. We're not criticizing Joe. I'm thinking of the jaws for the Columbia Public School District. Whenever you present facts that aren't agreeable to her, they're attacks. Facts are not attacks. Josh Hawley, Missouri Senator. Man, this is powerful stuff. This, by the way, this whole thing with the school shooting in Nashville, Chief of Police from Ashland, Gabe Edwards, joins us 6:35. He's going to share what community members are saying with him, because after a school shooting, everybody, we got to do this, we got to do that. I'm wondering what the police chief in Ashland is hearing. He joins us 6:35. Josh Hawley, listen to this hot take.
Federal law prohibits violence against Americans based on their religious beliefs, their religious affiliation, their religious practices. Police have said that this shooting at a Christian school yesterday was targeted. It was not random. It wasn't some random act of violence. It was targeted against this Christian school. That's a hate crime.
He said, now, I'm not a big fan of hate crimes. It's illegal to target somebody and commit violence or kill them because it's illegal to do anyway. I don't care why you do it. It's already illegal. So I've never been a big fan of the hate crimes, but this is getting people twisted up on the left, this whole thing. Number one, because, hate crimes are supposed to be against white people. No, a hate crime, if you subscribe to the definition of a hate crime is a hate crime. And if you're targeting Christians, that is a hate crime. This whole thing has people discombobulated because, number one, it's again, I think it's proving the issue. It's not the gun. This is a person who had serious mental health issues, and not just because it was a chick who thought she was a dude, not just because we know she had mental health issues because she went to a school and killed 7 people. She also thinks that she was a dude, and that simply is not a fact. But she was having mental health issues, and we know this now. And it's proving everything that smart people have been saying, and that is, listen, it's not the guns, it's the people. It's the people. How did Hawley's comments grab you, Mr. John Marsh? I know you've been covering this in news this morning. How did you react to that?
Not too surprised. Kind of one of Josh's standard takes on stuff, but I think it has some merit.
Yeah, he's right. And that's the other thing that has people all twisted up. Number one, you've got a sick individual that everybody, even the far left, saying, yeah, they had some serious mental health issues. And it's, if I'm stereotyping, it's one of our own that did this, in being somebody that thought they were a gender that they, by a point of fact and science, that they were not. It's got people twisted up all around. Stunning. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Cousin Andy is here.
Hey there.
By the way, later this morning, so Houseworth is out for the next several days. One of the things we're going to cover this morning, Brian Houseworth has something in common with Leonardo DiCaprio, Bradley Cooper, and Keanu Reeves.
He's the king of the world.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been on TV a lot lately.
It's true. He's on TV all the time. But it has to do with why he's gone. That's one of the things that we are going to be covering for you this morning. Also, 7:35, polling, for what it's worth. I'm always fascinated by polling, kind of a glimpse into here's what some of your neighbors think and stuff. But we've got some Missouri-specific poll numbers. What do people think about Josh Hawley, who we just heard from? What do people think about Governor Mike Parson? What should be our number one priority in this legislative session? what Missourians think. We'll do that at 7:35. Cousin Andy, glad to have you here. There is producer Hannah.
Hello.
Mr. Marsh, of course, is in the house.
In the house.
My name is Branden Rathert, 874-9390, 874-9390 off the text. This is from Jamie. Biden started his public career 40 years ago. I thought it'd been longer than that, hadn't it? Dude's like 86 now. I thought he's been in politics longer than that. Of course, he did drive a truck for GM.
Are you sure about that?
He was also a lifeguard. He's had a lot of different careers, and this is while he was visiting in the Himalayan mountains with the president of China while they sipped tea and talked world policy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's managed to work this in, too. He didn't even know what he was talking about then, says Jamie. We appreciate that. I wonder, when we get into this Missouri polling at 7:35, I wonder if this piece of legislation will land on, here's the list of some of the most important things we should be working on.
Well, cat decline. We covered that one yesterday.
In depth.
Yes.
Bare knuckle boxing.
Whoa.
Cousin Andy, what? Cousin Andy. Andy hosts a terrific afternoon sports show on our sports station, KTGR. And
we talk about nothing but bare knuckle boxing.
That's right. All bare knuckle boxing all the time, every day. I like to flip back and forth between the Tobler show here on the radio station and Andy Humphrey's show. And it's not just all sports, it's other stuff. That's the thing I appreciate about the show, and it's entertaining. What do you know about bare knuckle boxing?
About as much as you, probably.
All right.
Isn't that just like bar fighting? Like, are we
somewhat
trying to...
I mean,
Last bare knuckle boxing we saw in Missouri was Jordan Bennington in the Blues, wasn't it?
that's right. Probably so.
He took off the gloves.
Every once in a while, that tends to happen.
So there's a representative. His name is Willard Haley. He wants to legalize bare knuckle fighting in the state, showing 20 other states that are already doing it. It had been outlawed for a long time, like over 100 years. Wyoming. First state to sanction this back in 2018. As a matter of fact, one of the folks that testified in Jefferson City yesterday was Sam Shoemaker, also known as the Hillbilly Hammer. Do they call, when you come up to testify, John, you're more familiar with the inner workings, as is Stephanie and JC. But when you get up to testify, do they call you? They say, all right, and now,
AKA,
we'd like to bring Hillbilly Hammer to the stand. Hillbilly Hammer.
You also get a walk-up song, I think.
exactly. Then the lights go real low and the spotlight's on them. No, not generally. Do we have that? They've changed their name legally to Hillbilly Hammer Esquire or something.
It's on the birth certificate, dude. Hillbilly Hammer. Research has shown bare knuckle fights produce fewer concussions than boxing with gloves. Shoemaker testified, but participants are cut more often and may bleed more.
Yeah, because you generally don't live if you've been defeated in the bare knuckle ring.
It's the BKFC, the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. The Hillbilly Hammer is from Graboy Mill. He's got a record he's been doing this, I guess, for 6 years, best I can tell by his record. He has 4 wins, 5 losses, 3 canceled events because there was no audience, and then a draw. That's one of the things they are covering in our state's capital. Next, we go to our nation's capital. Stephanie Bell's going to be bringing you the daily D.C. rundown. What's front and center this morning? Oh, by the way, today, weather looks like it's going to be pretty decent.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we're pretty chilly now. That's supposed to warm up into high 50s, probably around 60 degrees, and then even warmer tomorrow. So finally getting out of that cool spell that we've had again.
Thank goodness. Daily DC Rundown coming up. What you got, Steph?
Well, Pence could be facing off against Trump, but not in the way that you might think in a 2024 arena, in a different way.
A bare knuckle. Is it a bare knuckle arena?
Possibly.
What's the story there? Stephanie has that Daily DC Rundown 5 minutes from now on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle, 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri, featuring Branden Rathert.
A few weeks ago, my economics professor claimed that universal basic income is the key to getting people off the welfare system in America. I was wondering if you can explain what universal basic income is and if it's a form of socialism or communism.
I have to say that if that's what the professor said, I am dumbstruck. I want you to all hear the words if I got it right. He's quoting his professor. Universal basic income is a great way to get people off welfare. Okay, are you all aware of why that's not coherent? Why isn't universal basic income welfare? That was priceless. It's like saying there is a way to get people off heroin, and that is with another drug. There you go. Meth. The way to get people off heroin is with meth. Ah, it's genius. Bloody genius. All right, why is that not answer the question? That's what it is. Universal basic income is giving everybody a check every month, and that's welfare. That's the definition of welfare. It's so ironic. It goes back to my earlier thing, crutch. It's okay to have an economic crutch, but not a religious crutch. And the irony is the people who have the religious crutch are the most opposed to economic crutches. That's the irony, because they have a healthier view of life, because they have a wisdom source called the Bible. No wisdom, you end up a professor.
This video I'm going to show you, they're teaching incorrect grammar to give a kid whatever gender pronoun they want. Psychology tells you that when you're talking about sexuality with kids, their brains are not developed. You have to raise a child, you rear a child. They don't know about sexuality. When an adult pushes some kinky sexual ideas upon them, it winds up grooming them to believe whatever the adult tells them. So this is the video by Brain Pop that our kids are spending hours in front of. This is what they're telling them about the pronouns. And the ACT already gave the kids the opportunity to choose their own gender when they took the ACT. I got pictures of the forms.
Like meet Moby and Orbot. They are my best friends. Actually, yeah, they can be used as a singular pronoun too. Like if you said, I'm going to see my friend, I could ask, where do they live? Since I don't know your friend's gender identity. And some individuals prefer they as a pronoun. Like meet Orbot. They are my best friend.
We got kids that can't read and write, and then we're going to teach them incorrect grammar. I mean, it's ridiculous, okay? Who gave permission to talk about this with kids? There's two genders. If you're born with a penis and you have testicles, that's just anatomy. You're a male. If you have a vagina and ovaries, you're a female. A man cannot menstruate. A man cannot lactate and breastfeed a child. You cannot give birth if you're a man. If you want to be an adult and do whatever you want with your life, I'm okay with that. Don't push this ideology on children. I'm not going to work in a district that's okay with that. You need to make a clear statement on how many genders are there, because parents they're already pulling their kids out of public school. They're doing homeschool options. They're going online. It's going to increase as this liberal ideology comes into our schools. This isn't a political indoctrination camp, okay? It's public education. We want to teach education, not left-wing ideas that aren't backed up by facts or science. Thank you.
Did you take any classified documents with you from the White House?
I did not.
We know actually that Mike Pence did, and then later said at Florida International University, I take full responsibility for it. Mike Pence, front and center in today's Daily D.C. Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
And we know he intends to face off against Trump in 2024, but he might be facing off against Trump in a different way. Before that, he was fighting...
I'm going with bare knuckle boxing again.
No bare knuckle boxing. But he was scheduled to testify before the grand jury. This is all to do with January 6th. And he was fighting the request for him to testify, basically saying, hey, I was acting as a member of the Senate in my role as the vice president that day. I'm covered by the speech and debate clause, which usually covers the legislators. And so that was kind of a novel argument. And the court said, actually, no, you're going to have to come in and testify and respond to this grand jury subpoena. He's not going to have to testify about his own role, but he is supposed to have to testify about Trump's actions on that day.
I wonder, do you go in there, and I guess that's probably not legally a situation where you can say I invoke the Fifth, but I wonder what he could say that will get him around. And if he does have some stuff that potentially could be damaging to Trump, because he's going to be arrested this week, Trump is.
Where's that ticking clock sound you were playing yesterday? Just tick, 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 because the arrest was supposed to be last Tuesday, then it was going to be Wednesday, maybe Thursday, then everyone went home. And so there is a grand jury still meeting in Manhattan. Apparently they only meet Monday and Wednesday. There we go. Monday and Wednesday afternoons. I want that job, right? Can I only do my job Monday and Wednesday? Well, apparently I think they've already gone home this week, so it's not going to be this week. Then, we got some holidays coming up, so people are busy. So maybe, they'll get around to it eventually, or, maybe. So, yeah, there's no indictment. And really, based on their schedule, everyone's thinking, I don't know when this thing's going to happen, if at all.
And I think Trump, he's going to benefit. There's a loophole here that I really think he can benefit from, and that is that you have to break the law to be charged with something. That's the loophole.
And you have to be within the statute of limitations. All right. So, Biden is touting, what did he say about the international stage? We're back. And he's finding a way to anger our friends again. So I guess he was commenting on Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's legislation about judicial and court changes. And in response to a question, he said, I hope he walks away from it. That brought on a reply where Netanyahu said that they're sovereign. They make their decisions by the will of their people and not based on pressures from abroad, including the best of friends. So not exactly back, just making more people mad.
By the way, I'm fact-checking something Stephanie said. Yeah, that was said from the administration this week. It was John Kirby who said, China and Russia, they're working together because they fear us and they know that the United States is back on a worldwide stage. Wow.
Has America been fair to Donald Trump? The people always know what's going on. I don't think the president knows how
all of us have rallied around our police, and it's amazing the number of emails and texts that we have gotten to show support and to say that each one of those officers are in our thoughts and prayers, those officers who's died and their families.
Recognize that southern accent from down south. Alabama Mayor Tommy Battle, Garrett Crumby. Last night, Garrett Crumby and another police officer, his partner's name, Albert Morin. It was about 4:45 last night, and they're patrolling, and they get called. Probably, I would guess, from what I consistently have heard over the years, one of the calls that can put an officer on edge the most, a domestic disturbance call. They show up, arrive at the residence. This woman had already been shot, and the guy shoots and kills one of our officers. Want to bring in Gabe Edwards, Chief of Police in Ashland. Chief Edwards, welcome to the show. We're glad you could join us this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Another story of an officer killed in the line of duty, this following the one a couple of weeks ago in Herman. By the way, the officer that did not die, he continues. As a matter of fact, families letting media know, hey, he continues to recover in a hospital in St. Louis. It is a slow recovery, but he is recovering. Chief Edwards, your reaction to another officer shot in the line of duty?
It's happening far too often anymore. Strange times that we're living in.
When you go to a call, I mean, seriously, and I know we don't want to say too much because people in law enforcement always, I'm assuming, want to project confidence. You ever gone to a call, a domestic disturbance call specifically, and you're like, man, I'm a little anxious here?
Oh, yeah. With every one of these presents a different set of challenges and dangers. And in law enforcement, domestic violence calls and traffic stops are the two most dangerous activities that we get involved in. And over my career, I've been to countless calls where you wonder if this is the one where something major is going to happen.
Have you, and I'm hoping you're able to answer this, can you give like a specific example, like one of the times that you were probably most on alert in a call like this, like one or two examples?
Any good officer should go to every one of these calls most on alert, because whenever we get complacent and let our guard down is commonly, not always, but commonly when officers get hurt. And I'm not saying that that's what happened in these, latest incidents at all, just that every one of them, we should go in prepared for the worst. And I can think of several, and probably most recently, because I've been, chief of police and out of everyday patrol work for a few years now. But even here in Ashland, a few years ago, responded to one where a guy had, been in an argument with his wife and decided to crank off a round inside of his house.
Jeez, I couldn't imagine. By the way, quick traffic note. Want to thank Charles for this note. This is I-70, mile marker 96, westbound I-70 offhand. I don't have a point of reference for what mile marker 96 is by. 96 westbound I-70. One lane is blocked. Some slow going through there. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I am Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, Cousin Andy. And for Brian Houseworth today, producer Hannah is here too. And Chief, while you're here, I wanted to ask you, so the school shooting Monday, Nashville, what have community leaders been coming up and saying to our our chief of police in Ashland as far as, is there talk, what are we going to do? What do we do? Do you get any kind of talk like that?
Not yet. There hasn't really been a whole lot of grumblings outside the police department. There's been, from our perspective, we've spent a lot of time, watching as many videos and debriefs as we can get our hands on. The unfortunate reality is that could be us someday. So we want to try and be prepared as we can for that kind of thing. As to Nashville's response to that, from what we've seen so far, we think those officers did a fantastic job in responding to it and taking care of the threat.
All right, Chief of Police Gabe Edwards from Ashland is joining us this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Chief, talk to us about your staffing challenges, number one, and your funding issues. I know that you've had challenges even having the funds on hand to equip your officers.
Right. So Since about October actually, we'll start with March of last year. We had an officer that became injured during a domestic incident, and he's been on light duty ever since with a pretty significant injury, a fully torn Achilles tendon. And then in October, we had a resignation, and just when you got 6 patrol officers total and 1 supervisor and 1 chief, anytime that you have 1 or 2 people that are long-term gone from your rotation, it really tends to put big stress on everybody else. So and then in today's job market, there's just fewer people that are going into law enforcement. The struggle to find quality, qualified, competent people to come to work so that we're not just hiring somebody with a police officer license and a heartbeat. We want to make sure that everybody's got good, clear backgrounds. They're hard workers, reliable, smart, intelligent people. Just all those challenges combined make it difficult to bring things back up to full staff. On top of that, even at full staff, we don't have what we truly in our hearts believe and professionally believe are enough people to properly and adequately staff the city. So we've asked the city during this last set of budget discussions to increase our staff, which is happening. But even with that happening, we still need, at least for the immediate future, a couple more. So there is an issue on the April 4th ballot to ask the voters for permission for a 1% tax increase that is, at least from a police department perspective, going to help us bring more officers into patrol.
Well, we talk all the time. As a matter of fact, it's been a friendly feud over the past couple of years between producer Hannah, who comes from Centralia, Missouri, and Stephanie Bell, who lives in Ashland, because for a lot of years, Centralia, second most populous town in Boone County. And I don't think we've looked recently, Hannah, to see where we are, because it changes on a regular basis. But we have talked and bragged. You can see anytime you drive up and down 63, the explosive growth that is happening in Ashland. And I guess with that, more money for law enforcement, proposed sales tax on the ballot next week. And actually, you look at, regardless of where you are across mid-Missouri, there's a lot of money on coming up at stake for first responders in the April 4th municipal elections less than a week from today. There's a bond issue for the Boone County Fire Protection District, Ashland voting on this sales tax, and then separate issue, Jefferson City Council and firefighters. They're in the midst of negotiating contracts right now. Before we let you go, Mr. Edwards, anything else that you would like to add?
I think that there's still some questions and hesitation in the Ashland community. Generally pretty conservative folks. I'm actually right there with them. And we just want to say that if, from a personal perspective as a conservative believer, this is a really difficult thing to ask people for. And if we didn't really need it, we wouldn't be asking.
Yeah, and I get that. As a matter of fact, conversation with some local business leaders yesterday, and there is a lot of folks going, yeah, we're trying to be careful with money right now, and to go and ask folks for some more money on a sales tax right now can be maybe kind of a dicey ask. But I think with most of our folks here in mid-Missouri appreciate law enforcement, appreciate the fact that Ashland is growing by leaps and bounds, and with that comes more needs for things like infrastructure and first responders. Chief Gabe Edwards, Ashland, thanks for your time on the show this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate what you're doing. If you get a chance, get on that all-radio call and say, hey, everybody on Wake Up Mid-Missouri appreciates the work that you guys and gals do. I don't know if anybody, I don't like to watch these videos. Like whenever the news outlets, they show videos of people getting attacked, whether it's beaten on the street in New York, Philadelphia, or wherever this is a common occurrence, or even when somebody is shot and killed, even though it's officers protecting them. I did happen to look at this video of the Nashville officers and how they took out, I think the word they're using is neutralized the killer. Pretty remarkable work.
Incredible work.
Yeah.
I mean, with some of the reactions in previous incidents, where you were disappointed, I felt a sense of pride yesterday watching them show up and just as quickly as possible. And they're being credited with saving, a number of lives. And if I think the response, what was it, 13, 14 minutes from the call to the neutralization. Just incredible work. And I hope, we heard Chief Edwards there saying, that his folks are looking at it. To me, it looked like a textbook example of what you would hope would be the response. And so I hope, other forces out there are looking at that and talking to them and saying, okay, what, this appeared to have gone right. We've seen some things go wrong, but let's break down of how this went right, and let's find a way to be prepared in the same way.
Even the audio seems a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The moment they shoot and kill again, I thought about playing it here, and I'm like, well, it's only 6:46 in the morning, John. I don't know. I mean, it's just the audio, because you can hear glass shattering, and then boom, 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 they neutralize the killer. Coming up here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, one of the things we are going to be doing this morning, we have polls for what they are worth. As it relates to what we think about in Missouri. What do we think about Josh Hawley? Opinions on Governor Mike Parson. What should be the number one priority in our legislature? We're going to be covering that this morning here on the show. And coming up about 5 minutes from now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, whom Stephanie and I met, we saw her a couple of years ago, I should say.
Yeah, she was the headliner at a Lincoln Day dinner down in, I think we were in Springfield?
Kansas City.
Kansas City, all right.
When you're a worldwide traveler, it all becomes a world. But she gave an incredible speech, very congenial person. She's on Fox with Fox's Jesse Waters, and he asked her this question.
Are you a little ashamed that the first female vice president is Kamala Harris?
How did she answer that question? That's a smoking question. How did she answer that? We'll have that coming up about 5 minutes from now. Plus, Bill in Jefferson City wants to talk about the Jefferson City firefighters. Is they're negotiating contracts right now. There's some of the things coming up for you this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, 93.9 The Eagle, 104.5 News.
Are you a little ashamed that the first female vice president is Kamala Harris?
Man, Jesse Waters on Fox last night. Jesse Waters been on the show here before. Just the question makes the point you're trying to make.
He almost sounds uncomfortable. You're ashamed? Ashamed might be a strong word. I'm interested to hear how she responded, because that's pretty harsh.
It's harsh, and he probably is uncomfortable because you can't ask fair questions when somebody is a black female. You can't do it. Just ask Kim Gardner in St. Louis. By the way, she made an announcement yesterday regarding her future here in Missouri. What did she say? We're covering that. 7:10. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is who Jesse Waters asked that question of. Of course, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, a former White House press person for Trump, governor of Arkansas. Here's how she answered.
Look, I think it's a great thing that we have broken that barrier, that we have a female as the vice president. However, I just wish that we had somebody who was competent as the vice president.
Amen. Amen, sister.
And I don't know which, because she starts off all tactful. I think it's great that we've done this, but think about this. Kamala's been in Africa for a day. She has spent more time in the continent of Africa than she has spent at her southern border, man.
Exactly.
Friday they announced this on a Friday because we know the rule when it comes, John Marsh, the media, on if you want to kind of bury a story or you want it to go quietly, when do you release that story?
Quitting time on Friday.
That's right, and that's what what Kamala Harris's office did. They've hired a new, her point person because she is faltering, and Democrats know this. And you look at this idea of a combined ticket between Kamala and Joe again. It's like, can you hold these people responsible for hate crimes? These people, Kamala's job, one of her jobs is to go to the border and fix what's going on there. And she doesn't do it. And it's killing kids here in mid-Missouri. We've tracked fentanyl deaths. Fentanyl that comes from Mexico, comes from China. Can we charge hate crimes against people like Kamala and Joe Biden?
Apparently, while she's been in Africa, this is what they said she's been up to. She's visited a skate park and a recording studio. She released a Spotify playlist of African musicians. And then she invited a whole bunch of celebrities and other people to join her at a banquet in her honor. This is the news summary of what she's been up to in Africa. That's what she's doing.
That's Trumpian. Hey, we're going to have a dinner and we are going to honor. I love it. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Stephanie Bell, producer Hannah, John Marsh, I am Branden Rathert. Brian Houseworth is out. Cousin Andy is in for him today. Now we go see, we're in Jefferson City. That's where we find Bill. Bill, welcome into the show. What is on your mind?
I wonder first if you got shoes on today. It's cold.
Nope.
Gross.
Completely barefoot and wearing flip-flops, but thank you for the question.
Hey, good morning, crew. And just this whole firefighters thing down in Jeff City, and their union is working with the city administrator on a contract. Before this public safety tax came into effect, I went to several of those meetings, and I made it clear as a citizen here that we're going to be watching them, the city council and the city administrator in particular, because if you remember, Brandon, you may not, but back in the 80s when they approved the lottery here in the state of Missouri, that their sales pitch to get voters to vote for it was that money was going to go to schools and veterans. Well, what they did is they played a little shell game with us. They took money away from general revenue once that lottery kicked in, and they basically took money out of general revenue and said, this is what you get now. Well, this public safety tax was supposed to be above and beyond what public safety, fire, and police and EMTs get from general revenue now. It's supposed to be above and beyond that. And I just want to go on record and let the council persons that are listening to your show this morning, and maybe even our city administrator, that we're watching you. That if you try to play the little shell game with public safety's money, this tax and what they already get from general revenue to function, we're going to be watching you guys if you're taking from Peter to pay Paul.
Bill, thank you. Bill's on fire like Jesse Waters. We're watching you. You put people on notice. By the way, Jefferson City Council, two folks I would be very comfortable voting for. Scott Spencer, he's an incumbent, and Mark Schwartz, who incidentally, you look at campaign finance reports, Mark Schwartz, who we met a couple of weeks ago, easy vote for him, has raised $20,000 to run for city council. Coming up, Gardner's make an announcement regarding the prosecutor in St. Louis, the much maligned prosecutor, the Soros-backed prosecutor, made an announcement yesterday regarding her future. We have that. Do you use a cell phone in your car? No, you can't. It's unsafe. Well, but if you're one of those who do, you want to hear our next story coming up at 7:10. Good morning.
what is happening. Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
That's supposed to be a ticking clock. I think when I say we, I mean...
You.
May have missed the mark on that one. It sounds more like a...
turn signal.
It does, actually.
Is that the one that kept you up nights when you were a kid, Branden?
Right, that ticking clock that drove me insane. A severe bout of misophonia, which is one of the topics we...
You and Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah. That's supposed to be a clock ticking. Traffic note really quick while we're talking about turn signals accidentally. I-70 westbound just west of Boonville. This is mile marker 96.6 to be exact. Both eastbound and westbound passing lanes. The passing lanes, both eastbound and westbound. We're getting several texts from one of our friends coming in from Marshall this morning. We appreciate you listening in that area. So I-70, mile marker 90. So it's west of Boonville along that area. Keep us updated. Please feel free to reach out, text, or call 874-9390, 874-9390. Well, I was playing the ticking clock or the left-hand turn signal because we've been waiting for 2 weeks now. Did I hear in your daily D.C. rundown, which we do every morning, 6:25, what's happening in D.C.? We cover that for you, too, 6:25. Did I hear you say right, still nothing on the Trump thing this week?
Still waiting. So the Manhattan grand jury usually meets Monday and Wednesday afternoons. It took last Wednesday afternoon off. It did meet Monday, but still really no news, and it might be a while.
And I'm thinking this Soros-funded prosecutor, Alvin Bragg in New York, and I honestly believe, and as you know now, this is not a Trump thing for me, because if the presidential election were today, and if he announced he were running, I would vote for in a primary. I would vote for Ron DeSantis, because I believe Ron DeSantis has a better chance of winning a general election, where you got to start considering the in-betweeners and the independents and the folks that aren't politically housed. Politically homeless, if I can be politically incorrect. Those are the folks that are going to win an election. And this Alvin Bragg in New York, he's just going after Trump. The feds have looked at this whole thing, and it has to do with the money to Stormy Daniels and all of that. There is nothing that he did illegal. Otherwise, I'm guessing when the feds looked at this a couple of times, they would have prosecuted. They have passed. But this DA in Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, he is funded by George Soros. And it's funny because there's a whole story on CNBC, and the headline, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's ties to billionaire George Soros not as close as Republicans claim. I'm not kidding. They spend the next 3 pages in their story saying he got $500,000 for his campaign from a George Soros funded group. George Soros, that's a name you hear a lot. There's more problems for this. By the way, he's back, Kimberly Gardner. Anybody hear what she announced yesterday, Marsh?
Back at it. She's going to do it again, run for re-election.
And that is so. Here's the thing. We talk about how sad and disgusting it is, but it's so arrogant. We talk about being self-aware. Are you aware that you're an idiot? Might be a question some people would ask. I wouldn't ask that because I don't like to criticize people.
Even the mayor, who was like previously your BFF, is telling you, hey, maybe you're not doing a very good job. But it's a struggle. And, as you talk through the Attorney General's action, he's filed the Quo action. The problem with that is it doesn't prevent her from getting reelected. Even if he was able to oust her, she could rerun. And when you bring the Quo action, you can only bring things that you've done in your current term. So as soon as she gets elected, it's like the slate is wiped clean. And I think that's why you see our legislature and other state legislatures around the country saying, hey, this can't be right, even though there is a mechanism by which to remove people. If people, if it's affecting the whole state, maybe we need to step in. Now, there are differing views on that. And differing ways you can do that. But I think it's a question that needs to be asked, because I think there are limitations to the ability of the Attorney General to keep her out of office once ousted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think she's going anywhere. I mean, the way she overwhelmed her candidate back in the 2020 election, if don't believe she's been effective in her own area. Ask Mark McCluskey, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, these George Soros, and that's a name you obviously hear a lot, especially if you are a regretful Biden voter. You're newer to talk radio. George Soros is this global financier, uber incredibly rich guy. He funneled $40 million into district attorney races nationwide. And he's doing this because he wants to, reshape. It's rainbows and unicorns. We need to do lighter sentences for people. So bad. Oakland, California, Pamela Price. But again, people weren't calling her on her because she's a black female, and you can't do that. You can't criticize people when they are truly doing a poor job. Pamela Price in Oakland is truly doing a poor job, but she's a female. She's black. You can't criticize her because then you'll be racist. And that's so sad because we see the problems that it causes when you let ineffectual people. The same thing with Kamala Harris. Check the boxes. Oh, she's black and she's female. Let's vote for her. How's that working out for everybody? How's the border? How are things in general? It's not working out because people think with their hearts or with these social lenses, and it fails and it hurts people. You have a kid in St. Louis. By the way, she's still this poor girl. This whole thing that started, I shouldn't even say it started, the Kimberly Gardner stuff. She'd been under fire for a while, but that girl that had 2 legs amputated because somebody that should have been in jail, they weren't because Kimberly Gardner wasn't doing her job. This young girl, 17-year-old star athlete volleyball player, never walk again unless she uses prosthetics, still recovering in a hospital room because of people like Kimberly Gardner's ineptness at doing this. Same thing with Pamela Price in Oakland. She's got, as a matter of fact, Pamela Price in Oakland, she has 2 high-profile prosecuting attorneys leaving her office. And one of them said, I'm leaving because I doubt my ability to protect the rights of victims.
Wow.
Because they're wanting us to be soft. They're wanting us to go easy on. I know he carjacked somebody and hit this old lady upside the head and stole her grocery money out of her purse in Chinatown. But come on, rainbows and unicorns. Let's not hold him accountable. Yesterday, a couple of shootings in let me get this straight, Andy. 2 shootings in Columbia, 2 cases of shots fired.
Yeah. One of them happened, both of them happened in, I guess you consider it North Columbia. One near Range Line, right in front of, I believe, the strip mall that has La Siesta, and the other one was at the Lynx Apartments on Clark Lane.
Yeah, not too far from the newer Schnooks out there. And Marsh, when there was a shooting over the weekend, and Jeff said, or shots fired or something.
Shots fired, and then the Cole County Sheriff arrested a woman. She's now charged for cutting her boyfriend with a box cutter.
Was chatting with James Gray, who's been on the show from time to time. He is... the first word that comes to mind when I think of James Gray is activist, but I hate to use that word because it has such a negative connotation to it in a lot of situations. But this guy, so yesterday he was called out to this stuff. He's just a community dude. He has a job at a hospital. He's not a high-ranking position. He's just a dude who cares about his community. And a lot of times when these shots get fired or these kids get shot, oftentimes in North Columbia, he gets called because he is so embedded in the community, and he goes and he tries to change people's lives. One of the things he told me yesterday was that with these younger kids, a 14-year-old shot in Columbia, 14 years old?
I believe it's around that age.
So,
I don't know if they've said particularly.
So we hear all these stories, these younger kids, and what's happening is these older, usually folks involved in the gangs, they recruit these little kids. Say, hey, man, go run that gun for me. Go sling some dope over here for me. And these little kids will do it because they're impressionable. And a lot of times, this is according to my conversation with James Gray, they don't have the old-fashioned, stereotypical family unit in place. They have no guidance, so they go to other guys on the streets. And what these guys are telling these kids is, come on, man, you're only 14. If you get popped with a gun in this little grocery bag, ain't nothing going to happen to you. You're going to go to juvenile. And the little kids are like, oh, juvenile? You mean my name won't be on ABC 17? You mean nothing will happen to me? Yeah, basically. And so they recruit.
Wow.
Yeah, they're recruiting these young kids to do their dirty work because they won't get in trouble. Disgusting. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I am Branden Rathert. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Mr. John Marsh is here.
Yes, sir.
Andy Humphrey, Cousin Andy, is visiting.
Hey there.
For 2 days. Let him stay for 2 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when family comes to visit you, you got to keep a cap on it. And 2 days is just fine with Andy. Tomorrow, one of the things by the way, we're a little over 24 hours opening day, Busch Stadium, Cardinals, Blue Jays. A lot of folks excited about that. A lot of folks excited about a guy named Jordan Walker. A lot of folks kind of, regarding new rule changes. Andy's going to break those down for us tomorrow. I don't like the new rule changes in baseball. Apparently, they're designed to make the games go faster. And here's my biggest complaint about these rule changes designed to speed up the game. It's different. It's changed. It's new.
It's that the Cardinals game is going to be shorter than the Taylor Swift concert, I guess, right?
I don't know. I can't speak to how long Taylor Swift concerts are, but
here's some perspective, actually.
Tickets are cheaper.
Yeah, that's true.
Redbirds.
Yeah.
Sunday, Cardinals, Astros spring training game. Cardinals pummeled like 24-1 or something like that.
Yeah, it was ugly.
And as it was for a spring training game anyway, it was like 3.5 hours long. And Ricky Horton, who does play-by-play and color commentating for the Cardinals, he put some good perspective on it. He said, now, here's some perspective. If we didn't have these new rule changes in effect regarding the pitch clock and all that stuff, he says, this would be about a 4.5-hour game.
He's right.
So he's excited because he's having to work less now. All of them excited. Let's see. Hannah, Brandon, 874-9390. Traffic note, getting numerous texts. I-70, semi-accident, mile marker 96.6. This is apparently west of Boonville. We got listeners checking in from Marshall, the Boonville area. We appreciate your text at 874-9390, but apparently semi-accident at mile marker 96.6. Both eastbound and westbound passing lanes are blocked. Winners and losers of the week. We do it every Friday, 8:35. I already have a winner of the week. And I don't know if it's anybody that we have included in winner of the week before, but it is our senior U.S. Senator, Josh Hawley. This is in regards to that Nashville school shooting.
Federal law prohibits violence against Americans based on their religious beliefs, their religious affiliation, their religious practices. Police have said that this shooting at a Christian school yesterday was targeted. It was not random. It wasn't some random act of violence. It was targeted against this Christian school. That's a hate crime.
I think hate crimes are silly. Anyway, to commit a crime for this reason, it's worse than just killing a person for no reason. I think they're silly. However, it's flipping the script on progressives. Josh Hawley, you go, dude. Go get him. He's already one of my winners of the week. Coming up 8:35 on a Feel Good Friday.
If he's a winner of the week, then is Biden a loser of the week for responding? Because somebody asked Biden, like, hey, what do you think about Josh Hawley and the hate crime thing? And he was like, I don't know. I mean, it was just like incoherent. And he was kind of joking, which, again, he was joking about ice cream, yesterday before his response to the shooting. And I just think, like, get with the picture, have some self-awareness, get
follow
serious.
The script.
Yeah.
At the very least, follow the script. We highlighted the audio yesterday before Biden comes out and makes comments about that Nashville school shooting. He's joking about ice cream and laughing, and he's got the crowd laughing and says, and oh, by the way, stunning. And then yesterday, his response to Hawley was this discombobulated, is that what Josh Hawley thinks? Then I don't think that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward. Now I'm getting mad. Coming up, 7:25-ish, we are going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah. What do you have for us, Hannah?
Have you ever accidentally called or texted the wrong phone number?
Yep.
And did it ever land you in jail?
Ooh.
Not in jail. Landed me on the hot seat one time with the boss here at the radio station. I can't wait for this story. Hannah's got us covered. What's Hot with Hannah coming up 7:25-ish.
Cleveland for a very misfortunate event that happened to this one guy. He had the phone number wrong of the person he was trying to contact. He was off by one digit. We've done that here on the show several times, right? Like
When it comes to calling guests.
Yeah. We might be off by a digit, and sometimes I accidentally call some poor unsuspecting person at 6:35 in the morning.
And they're in California where it's 4:35 in the morning.
Yeah, it happens. I typically don't leave angry voicemails, though, when that happens. And if I'm trying to commit a crime, I definitely don't disclose that information in a voicemail. This Cleveland man, he's going to spend 18 months in prison because he was trying to order a hit on his son. He wanted a hitman to kill his son, and he thought he was calling the hitman. He was not. He was calling a local business, and that business quickly turned it over to the police, and the guy got busted.
Is this guy from Florida?
He's not. He's from Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Gary Nolan's hometown. Gary Nolan, host of the Gary Nolan Show.
Maybe Gary knows him.
But the guy called like 3 times and left 3 different messages, and all of them were incriminating. He was going to offer $5,000 to this hitman for him to kill his son, and he was just off by one digit.
I refuse to leave voicemails typically, especially if like there's no, if they don't identify who it is and you're not sure that it's that person.
Right.
Not that I'm like doing anything crazy, but it would, whatever you're doing. I mean, a lot of what I do is confidential, so I don't put stuff in a voicemail that I'm not sure. But yikes, how stupid can you possibly be?
Have you ever called the wrong number that's put you in a weird situation or texted the wrong person the wrong text?
We know you have.
I've definitely done it. I can't think of any like awkward situations it's put me in.
Yeah, I've never done it to where I was embarrassed.
Several years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I was having an issue with a Wake Up Mid-Missouri family member who was in a senior position.
Your boss.
In the family.
Yeah.
And I was having an issue with him, and I'm texting with him, and I'm texting with a good friend of mine, texting back and forth.
We can tell where this one's going.
And by name, by name, hey, Joe, this is, well, guess who called me? Joe said, hey, what's going on? I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, I got your text. I'm like, what text? Is the one where you called me a son of a, and I didn't do that, but it was, that was about the only time that I've ever done anything like that.
Boy, me too.
Coming up here on the show, polling for what it's worth. I am fascinated by polling for what it's worth. I don't take,
What kind of polling?
Missouri polling. This is specific to the state of Missouri. So what do people think about Hawley? What are they?
Friend from Pennsylvania, Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of H.R. 1. From day one, this administration has demonized American energy producers, forcing prices to skyrocket and compromising our national security. My Missouri constituents care about three things, Mr. Speaker.
What are the three things that Mark Alford, 4th Congressional District Congressman, is getting ready to say? My Missouri constituents care about three things. I would say hunting, beer, and Cardinals baseball. What would be? Well, I don't know if that's what Mark Alford's going to say here, but those would be my three guesses: beer, hunting, and baseball.
Like freedom, family, hard work.
Barbecue, potholes, and
roll carts.
Marsh, what do you think would be the three things Missourians care about?
Hunting, fishing, and God.
All right. I like all those. Mark Alford on the House floor yesterday.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Food,
a lot of fertilizer,
fuel, and fertilizer.
What?
It's kind of an old ag thing.
Yeah.
The three Fs.
The good alliteration.
The F words. Always love the F words. Those are the most important things to Missourians. The three F words.
They care about that too.
Oh, fudge.
Keep going.
Food. What did he say?
Like with smart
family.
kids.
Family.
Yep. And fertilizer.
No, he said food, fuel, and fertilizer.
No one cares about fertilizer, Mark Alford.
Does if you're trying to get your beans to grow, right,
I
Hannah?
guess.
Yes.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Freedom and family.
Which is the bigger F in your mind? Is it fertilizer? Which is important when you consider in ag, we do what? I think $1 billion a year in the state of Missouri.
You price fertilizer lately if you're a farmer? Wow.
Gosh, I haven't. And I feel bad for you listening this morning, what we've had to deal with over the past 2+ years now with inflation. You see what gas price, holy cow, gas prices jumped up 19 cents yesterday. Anybody see that? You know what that feeling's like when you drive by the gas station and you're just tootling along and you got your cell phone and you're on the phone with your boo and all of a sudden you drive by what the?
Oh, fudge.
Another F word that we love here in Missouri. So that is Congressman Mark Alford yesterday on the House floor talking about H.R. 1, and this has to do with energy costs. And basically it has to do with increasing production and export of American energy. This is interesting, though. If you look up H.R. 1, two very different takes on this. This is the one from the White House, whitehouse.gov.
The White House says it would double the cost of energy efficiency upgrades. They issued a really long statement, but basically said it would be very bad for energy costs.
Quick Google search. I found two different things. I want to hold that up to the screen so you can kind of see that for yourself.
All right, there we go.
So the top one you'll see there if you're watching on our YouTube channel.
Quit shaking.
It's real easy to find us on YouTube.
Yeah, it's just Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
So the top one is from the White House, and it says it would raise costs for American families by repealing household energy rebates and rolling back historic investments to increase access to cost-lowering clean energy technologies. From the speaker, from housespeaker.gov, the Lower Energy Cost Act focuses on two main priorities: increasing the production and export of American energy and reducing regulations. Two polar opposite explanations on the same bill. And I happen to agree with what the Speaker of the House is saying. Let's export more. Let's just create more for us that are here. Don't force me to buy a Tesla. I don't want to do it. If I want to go and buy a Tesla, let me go and buy it. Quit taking my tax dollars and going and funding charging stations, unless you want to go and fund my gas station where now I'm paying 19 cents more a gallon than I was yesterday. If you want to pay for that if you're paying for people to buy these cars, if you were taking money out of my wallet, you know how much money I have in my wallet this morning? I have $4.
You know how much money I have in my wallet this morning? $25.
Oh, Eddie has another F word for us.
Okay.
401k. I like that.
That's very good.
Where was I?
How many dollars are in your 401k? That's what Eddie's asking you, Brandon. You got
$4.
Right?
Lucky if you have $4 in it.
Another F word.
Rob says football.
F words that we care about in Missouri.
Wake Up Mid-Missouri's favorite F words.
Fun. Well, that'd be my second favorite F word. But yeah, fun.
What's the first?
Family.
Freedom.
It's an 8-way tie for my favorite F word. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. So Mark Alford, he is on the right side of history and saying, let's increase our energy production. Let's help make this cheaper for Americans. This is where some of these people in the White House, I think they hate America. Kamala's off in Africa while the border is a complete disaster. As a matter of fact, Alejandro Mayorkas, maybe we'll do this at 8 o'clock. Alejandro Mayorkas questioned by Ted Cruz yesterday about the border, and what was stunning was the way that Mayorkas answered or didn't answer. We should get into that coming up at 8:10 this morning. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Mr. John Marsh is here.
Yes, sir.
Producer Hannah.
Hi, friends.
Brian, another good F word, friends. So just so you know, we ain't being 16. We're talking about Missouri's.
We can do both, right?
Mark Alford, 4th Congressional District Congressman, House floor yesterday.
Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my friend from Pennsylvania. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of H.R. 1. From day one, this administration has demonized American energy producers, forcing prices to skyrocket and compromising our national security. My Missouri constituents care about three things, Mr. Speaker: food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer. 3 F words that Missourians care about the most. What would you add to that list? But it's got to be an F word. 874-9390. And so we've added other F words. Family.
Freedom. Faith.
Fun. 401k.
Friday.
Oh, I like it. Because we do Feel Good Fridays here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. If you've never joined us for Feel Good Friday, do hope you do. So we'll cover, anything getting in your way today. If not, then we go along to some of the lighter things happening in the news or some more of the feel good stories. We actually, Stephanie was able to uncover some Missouri-specific polling. A question anytime we get into polling, for what it's worth. I always think it's fun because it's a way to kind of see what your neighbors, what they think. It's kind of a way to gauge what is it that other people are thinking. Hopefully you've made your decisions on any important issues prior to hearing what it is that other people think, but I think it's always fun. So we get like the presidential job approval ratings, which are historic, and I hate to use that word, but they really are at historic lows. More importantly to me, mood of the nation, right track, wrong direction, and it has been for well over 2 years now. Wrong direction, to me, that speaks to the mood of the country, but Stephanie's been able to uncover some numbers as it relates to us here in Missouri.
Yeah, this poll was conducted by Remington. There were about almost 1,500 likely November 2024 voters. They asked about Hawley and Parson. How good of a job do you think they're doing? And, we know Missouri is a conservative state, so you think, okay, but I like always comparing among the folks. And so I thought it was a little bit surprising. I mean, I on the Hawley numbers, didn't you?
I did. I was actually kind of surprised, hence the polling for what it's worth.
I'm not surprised about the how people feel about the job the governor's doing. They said approve 48%, disapprove 35%. But with Hawley, it was much closer. Approve 43%, disapprove 42%. I wonder if that changes after his comments yesterday. And I wonder, is that a J6 reaction? What is that causes his? Because you would expect, if everyone's just doing party lines, that people would have the same response to Hawley as they did the governor. If they're just, he's a conservative, I approve.
So 1,500 Missourians, likely 2024 November election voters participated in this survey. So Governor Parson has a higher approval rating than Josh Hawley. I would hope after John, and in case you haven't heard Josh Hawley's comments yesterday, he said, hey, the Nashville shooting, it should be looked at as a hate crime. And you should see the progressives flipping their lids this morning because they're caught flat-footed. They're like, but no, aren't hate crimes supposed to be just like against white people? No, and Josh Hawley, he's got them. Go Josh. He's one of my winners of the week already for a Feel Good Friday. What else did you find that was interesting in this?
Putting up some big numbers was Attorney General Bailey. Now, the question was not, do you approve of the job he's doing? Of course, he's only been on the job for, 90 days. But they said, hey, do you support his action against Kim Gardner? And there we see 41% said they support him. only 21% said they don't support the action, and a lot of people are still unsure. So I thought that was really interesting. I think that's a hot topic. And, I was just at St. Charles County Lincoln Days, and he talked about this. And when he talked about this, you could hear the crowd get energized and fired up. And really, it is an issue, I think, that matters to people. The other thing I thought that was really interesting was they asked, hey, the state legislature is looking at all these tax relief measures. What kind of, tax relief measures are you in support of? And winning the day, consistent with what Mark Alford said, in that Missourians care about food, the highest percentage was cut sales tax on food. 29% of people said that's where we should get tax relief. And of course, we talked to Senator Coleman earlier this week. I think the interview's posted on our website about her legislation to repeal the tax on food. I thought more people coming in at 27% was just cut taxes across the board. And I know obviously, and I don't think they didn't have the personal property tax. That probably would have taken the cake. And maybe they knew that. So I thought, that was really, I wouldn't have said food, I guess.
And piece of legislation being worked on this morning. We've already covered. Maybe we'll have to get back into it again. But one lawmaker is trying to, he wants bare-knuckle boxing legalized, and he's relying on the hammer and hillbilly. That was one of the folks that testified, and I'm not making that up. That happened. John Marsh has my back on this. That really happened.
That's the guy's name. That's his ring name.
The Hammer and Hillbilly. So they're talking about that. And then again, this effort to ban texting while driving, moving forward in Missouri. And listen, I really believe this. I doubt very few people would go on record and say, we did have, here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri several years ago, there was a councilman in the city of Columbia. His name was Michael Trapp. And we pressed him when the city of Columbia pushed forward their, hey, you can't use your cell phone while you're driving. We had to ask him 3 or 4 times, like, come on, this is just window dressing. You're just saying, hey, look what we did. It's on the book. And he finally acquiesced and said, yeah. And that's what I believe about this. But it changed to this. Senate plan to outlaw texting while driving, won initial approval. So the rub is, should it be a secondary offense or a primary traffic offense? Primary traffic offense, if Sheriff Wheeler sees you on the phone in your car, he could pull you over if it were going to be a primary traffic offense. But apparently Senator Rick Bratton, he added successfully an amendment to make texting while driving a secondary offense. In other words, you get popped for something and they might say, by the way, I saw you using the cell phone too.
Well, yeah, and we talk about priorities, and we've heard from Police Chief Edwards out of Ashland today about staffing and resource issues and not having enough staff to, where they feel comfortable. And then we talk about, how many local shootings did we have? So, do I really want my police officers pulling people over for texting, or do I want them catching these folks who are shooting?
Couple of things everybody's talking about. Hannah's got a great What's Hot with Hannah. We did this 7:25-ish this morning. We were talking about texting the wrong person, and several people, including Steph Bell. I was just sharing the story when I texted my boss on a text that was about the boss. But there was a more infamous event even prior to that some folks have had to remind us about. We might share that. And then coming up 5 minutes from now, why is Fox News talking about Patrick Mahomes? Or we could do what Brian Houseworth, who's out today. What does Brian Houseworth have in common with Leonardo
Good times. Easy credit ripoffs. Yes. Good times.
Dynamite.
Ain't we lucky we got 'em. Good times.
Man, great feel-good moment in the history. Feel-good. There's another F word for Missourians, which we are collecting right now via text. Are you guys seeing our text blowing up? So we played some comments from Mark Alford on the House floor regarding energy here in the country, specifically in Missouri.
My Missouri constituents care about three things, Mr. Speaker: food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer. We're getting a bunch of texts at 874-9390, so we're inadvertently on a mission. Words that describe priorities, things we care about the most in Missouri. Words, but they have to begin with the letter. They have to be an F word.
Tim has a good one, but I'm not going to read it out loud. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I've seen the football one.
Yeah, we got football, freedom, 4th of July.
Flag.
Yeah, farming, firearms. Corey says falling value of the dollar.
So if you got something, 874-9390, 874-9390. Best way to reach out and text us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. F words only that describe Missouri, or one of the three things that we as Missourians care about. So we played that Brian Houseworth singing "Good Times," some feel good audio. Can I make feel good one word? We do our feel good Fridays.
Sure.
One word. That's my favorite. That's a priority for a Missourian. Feel good. So Brian's out. He's going to be back with us on Monday. But one of the things that we love about Brian Houseworth is he's got something in common with Bradley Cooper, Leonardo DiCaprio, amongst some others. Yeah, Brian Houseworth. Humble old dude, wears glasses. We'll tell you he looks like Les Nessman from WKRP in Cincinnati. Brian Houseworth will tell you he probably has
more music and Les Nessman.
He has the mannerisms of Les Nessman, and we love him to death. And he's very good at what he
is
does.
a recipient of the Silver Sow Award for his agriculture reporting, much like Les Nessman as well.
But here's what Houseworth has in common with Bradley Cooper, Leonardo DiCaprio. These guys have famously taken their moms to award shows like the Oscars.
Oh.
Keanu Reeves, he's taken his mom before.
Didn't Elon Musk bring his mom to something?
Yeah. And so Brian, we're putting him in that same realm. He's going to take care of his mom for a few days. He loves his mama.
Oh, that's sweet. There's something about having a son. I would have more sons, honestly. My son is...
You heard it here first, Chris Bell.
He's so sensitive and sweet and will love me forever, I think.
He's sweet and sensitive because he's in a house full of chicks, mostly. Thank God for Mr. Bell.
He's terrified.
Coming up a few minutes from now, why is Patrick Mahomes, he's getting talked about on Fox News and debunking some lies that Joe Biden told and they got played on the national TVs yesterday.
Don't you worry what they tell them.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, news director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
These are weapons of war. I'm a Second Amendment guy. I have 2 shotguns. My sons have shotguns. But our states, everybody thinks somehow the Second Amendment is absolute. You're not allowed to go out and own an automatic weapon. You're not allowed to own a machine gun. You're not allowed to own a flamethrower. You're not allowed to own so many other things. Why in God's name do we allow these weapons of war on our streets and at our schools? These guns are this is hard to believe. I never thought when I started my public life that guns would be the #1 killer of children in America. Guns. #1.
Just so you know, everything you just heard in the preceding 32 seconds, that is all. I won't even say it's not inaccurate. It's wrong. It's false. It's a flat-out lie. The problem is Joe Biden, he gets up on a podium, he spouts these lies. Then those news clips, you probably saw these. If you watched any of the nightly news last night, CBS, NBC, or you watched CNN, they put that up there, and they don't bother to fact-check. These things are not accurate. In the U.S., it is not. Talk to Gary Nolan about this stuff. He's here at 9 o'clock. It's my dad's favorite talk show. Talk to Gary Nolan about this stuff. In the U.S., it is not illegal to own a flamethrower. No, I actually know a gal who owns one. For real. Now, it's a small one. And I think she just uses it in her garden, but it's a flamethrower.
Like for ag purposes?
So maybe I'm exaggerating. It is not illegal to own a machine gun, as the President of the United States lied to you there. The other thing he has said, you can't own cannons. Biden previously said the Second Amendment banned the ownership of cannons. You ever been to a Mizzou football game?
Oh, sure.
Halftime, what do they do there?
Shoot off the cannon.
Yeah.
Every time we score.
The other
in years where we saved a lot of ammo.
Stockpiling, that's what we call it.
See, and I think is it the ROTC that shoots it off?
It's part of the military, yeah.
I think at Truman State it was like a fraternity across the street that was in charge of that.
Columbia fraternity shoot a cannon once many years ago. People might remember in Columbia that hit the guy at fraternity house across the street that didn't go over well.
The other, and probably the most important line that he told was he reiterated #1 killer of kids in America is guns. He could not be he couldn't be further from the truth. So we had to do some research on this morning on the show, and that research entailed getting onto the CDC website and finding what is it that kills more kids? Motor vehicle accidents top the list
by a lot. So of the 4,500 unintentional injury deaths for those ages 1 to 17, motor vehicles accounted for 2,100 of those deaths. Firearms, just 120. So it's not like, #1 and #2. It is like completely false. And again, we are paying for someone to collect this data, to sit in an office and collect this data and then write these reports and then someone to put them on the website. And we can't expect our own president to go read the government website and get the facts right, or anyone on his staff.
And the TV stations that just air it. Oh yeah, Biden said guns #1 killer of kids, and Don Lemon not bothering to fact check it, or Mika Brzezinski. Yeah, the president said it. It's true. Or I know it's a lie, but part of my job is just to facilitate those lies, because when somebody goes home, they watch TV. Oh yeah, guns, they kill kids. I want to vote Democrat.
And I think it's not that we're making light of the situation or that something doesn't need to be done. I mean, we talked yesterday, like, if we can find ways to use some of this money that we're paying the CDC to collect data and tell us we need to get the jab, if we can cut some of that money and put some more security at our schools, if we can lose some of the administrators and put more security at our schools, that's what we need to be talking about. But spreading false information isn't going to help us get, and blaming firearms isn't going to help us get to a safer place for our kids, which I think is what every parent who has to send their kid to a school every day wants to get at. And so we need to make sure we've got the right information, because it's a serious problem.
Have you ever hyperventilated before? Whether intentionally, which I don't know why you would do that, whether intentionally or some kind of health issue, and you start What happens when you hyperventilate?
To their other children, and how many teachers are having to walk in their school doors, this morning, or every morning, and fear. And I think our government's priorities are in the wrong place. And I think pointing the finger at guns is an easy answer for Democrats. And we need to focus on how we can actually find a solution that's going to work.
And that's one of the reasons the progressives are hyperventilating here, because you had somebody we talk about. It's not the guns, man. It's these people with mental health issues, which gets into another topic regarding red flag laws. This person bought guns legally. She had serious mental health issues. Number one, she thought she was a dude. Number two, she went in and unloaded and killed 7 people in a private school, and she had legitimate mental health issues that apparently she had been cared for before. So they're saying, see, look, there's a mental health issue. There is a mental health issue. So that's why it's got the progressives just hyperventilating. Somebody in the news outlets, somebody even went as far as to say, NBC has ID'd the Nashville school shooter as Audrey Hale, 28-year-old chick, no previous criminal record. Nashville is home to the Daily Wire, a hub of anti-trans activity. They're tying it into Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire because the Daily Wire happens to be in the same city as this school was. My goodness, let's get out of here and move. I'm going to start uttering F words here on the show.
You already you inadvertently uttered in another one, and our listeners are helping us out. Flamethrower.
Flamethrower. We'll talk about why we're doing F words this morning here on the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I am Branden Rathert. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Always delighted when Cousin Andy stops by.
Hey there.
There's producer Hannah.
Hello.
Mr. John Marsh is here.
Present.
Some of the other things going to be working on. Patrick Mahomes getting talked about on Fox. This might be an Andy thing. Apparently he's not, there's something the NFL has done. He's not real happy about it. We'll get to that. But one of the things we're doing in our text is, I like when this happens, our text is blowing up. And this is a story born out of a news story. Mark Alford, 4th Congressional District Congressman, House floor yesterday, giving an impassioned speech, couple minutes long, but basically he is talking about energy, and we need to make America more energy independent, and we got to quit taking taxpayer dollars out of Andy's wallet and giving it to somebody else because they're going to go buy an electric car. We got to quit using my taxpayer dollars to incentivize people to buy something that's electric. We got to quit doing that. But in that, he gave an interesting statement about things that Missourians care about. When I get to that, 874-9390, 874-9390. There's something we can do for you. So here's what Mark Alford said on the House floor.
My Missouri constituents care about 3 things, Mr. Speaker: food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer. 3 things Missourians care about. The 3 F words: food, fuel, and fertilizer. So we're asking for, what is it that Missourians care about in your minds? But it's got to be an F word.
Freedom.
Fun. Fridays. Andy, what you got? F word that describes one of your priorities in life. Marsh, what were some of the words you had?
Well, maybe we could go back to, I don't know, talk to the administration and fake failure. Folly.
Did you already say food?
Mark Holford said, so here's the 3 things that you can't use:
food, fuel, and fertilizer.
So if you had fertilizer on your list of F words.
Why are we making up these rules here?
It's already been taken. There's some really good ones off the text at 874-9390. One of our listeners says they even asked their wife for a flamethrower for Christmas.
Firearms has made the list. Faith.
4th of July.
Flag.
Feel Good Friday. I like it. 874-9390. 874-9390.
Football.
Boom. Got football.
Boom.
From the sports guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it took the sports guy an awful long time to come up with that one.
What are you saying?
So what's the deal, by the way? Andy, he's in for Brian Houseworth over the next couple of days. Matter of fact, I want to talk about some of the rule changes. Hey, listen, I'll tell you something. Maybe I'll get in trouble for saying this, but
Come on.
Maybe.
Well, here's one of the things I get talked to sometimes. Hey, don't say this, don't say that. And my response is always, okay. But I have to be honest. That's the other thing. Above all, I just have to be honest. But we get whenever some of our radio stations carry Cardinal baseball, man, you think we're talking about roll carts. The people say, Cardinal baseball. So here's a good news that just occurred to me when we talk about these rule changes.
I know someone else who gets really agitated when their routine gets disrupted. Branden. And so, yeah, if you have a routine and it gets slightly disrupted, you can be a little cranky about it.
So let's say you're listening to Sean Hannity, and then all of a sudden Cardinals baseball comes on. People get frustrated. Man, we get bombarded with, we have to open up the Wake Up Mid-Missouri mailbag for that one. But the games will be shorter on the radio, right?
There you go.
So it'll be,
yes, that's the idea. Yeah,
that's the selling point, right? That's the positive.
No more 4-hour pitcher duels, right?
Yeah. So Patrick Mahomes being talked about on Fox. Apparently, another change in sports, but the NFL has announced that teams could play as many as 2 Thursday night football games per season. Do you see what Mahomes said about this?
Well, his response was tweeting the same tweet that had that news in it, and then he tweeted it with a face palm emoji. Like
another F word. Face palm.
Face palm. So, the players have not liked the whole Thursday night experiment, and now the fact that there's a possibility that they could be playing more than one. It used to be that everybody had to play one, and that was it.
Yeah.
And now teams could potentially play more than one, and then there could be other teams that don't play any. So,
and the challenge is, so you're playing on Sunday.
Right.
And then Monday you get to rest. And typically Monday and Tuesday in the NFL, usually rest days. But now you're playing on a Sunday. And then, boom, 4 days later, you're back at it. Now, I don't know if you've ever played high-level football. I haven't. But I'm guessing it's a challenge to risk.
It's an injury risk, yeah.
Yeah. So Patrick Mahomes using an F word, that's his reaction to the NFL, saying you could play as many as 2 Thursday nights. But I think one of the problems is, you know what? We watch it. We love primetime football, man. We can watch football all day Sunday. We have Sunday night primetime football. We have Monday night primetime football. We have Thursday night primetime football, and we eat that up with a big old spoon. But Patrick not real happy about it. Coming up 5 minutes from now, Morning Bell Business News. A little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you. What do you have for us this morning, Steph?
Well, some of my favorites are calling this a dangerous race.
Dangerous race. What is a dangerous race? By the way, Dow closed down 38 points yesterday. What's the futures? How are we looking as we open up? Stephanie's covering that. Good morning. 8:26, time for the Morning Bell business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Futures this morning are in the green. They are looking up. So good news for the stock market open that is about to happen. Not so great news on something that you and I have been kind of fangirling over this morning. So
Vivek Ramaswamy?
No, he's still
He's
doing
good?
fine. But you're kind of fangirling over ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily ChatGPT in and of itself, but have you ever started something and it's kind of like gotten out of hand and you're like, maybe I should, like if you ask people what their favorite F word is. And in many ways, these things are not what you would consider dangerous. However, a lot of our favorite tech friends, including Elon Musk, who I like to fangirl over, is saying, we need to slow our roll on this AI stuff because it could be a very dangerous race, is the words they are using. And so, we know that from the original ChatGPT to the ChatGPT number 4, it's gotten way smarter in a hurry. And now it's even starting to freak out, the tech bros. And so they wrote a letter saying, it was signed by 1,000 people saying, hey, we need some safety protocols. We need somebody kind of overseeing this, because once you kind of let this thing go, it's going to kind of go on its own. And we're entering a dangerous race is basically what they're saying now. And even more so than writing breakup letters and job postings,
Which we've done here on the show with ChatGPT.
Scripts, other things. You're now also able to do more AI with images. And we've talked before about deep fakes. And there's one that really got people. And I think this might have set off the letter. But did you see the picture of the Pope the other day?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Pope, there was this picture that went viral on Twitter, and it was the Pope, and he was wearing this awesome white puffer jacket, like you would see an NFL player getting on a private jet in. And several people, or a lot of people, got faked by this photo. It looked like him. It was very real looking. There were a couple of tells, but most people got duped. And even one person tweeted, "The Pope is a fashion icon. Respect the drip." And so, no, people thought it was the actual Pope, and clearly it wasn't. But it took a while for people to figure that out. There's also been some AI images of Donald Trump being arrested. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. And so folks are saying, look, this stuff's getting really, really good. And it's even faking out people who, in my generation, who I'm not going to get, had. I can spot a fake. It's getting so good, and it's getting better every day, that it's starting to freak out the experts in this field, which is actually now freaking me out.
And I think the other thing is because a lot of this stuff had been available, but mostly at a Hollywood level. But now folks like John Marsh can get his hands on this stuff, and that's what scares me. John's all excited. Coming up.
You should be very afraid.
Just a few minutes from now, what happened with Girl Scout cookies this year? It's coming up a few minutes from now. We'll do that about 8:35.
Speaker, and thank you to my friend from Pennsylvania. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of H.R. 1. From day one, this administration has demonized American energy producers, forcing prices to skyrocket and compromising our national security. My Missouri constituents care about three things, Mr. Speaker: food, fuel, and fertilizer.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer. Congressman Mark Alford speaking on a very important topic. It's interesting as Stephanie and I this has to do with lower energy cost. H.R. 1, look it up for yourself. Quick Google search. White House explains this bill, it would raise costs for American families by repealing household energy rebates and rolling back historic investments to increase access to cost-lowering clean energy technologies. You go to Kevin McCarthy's page, speaker.gov. The Lower Energy Cost Act focuses on two main priorities: increasing the production and export of American energy and reducing regulatory stuff. It's the same bill.
I think I got some whiplash, like a 180 there.
Two way different things. As it turns out, I would agree with the Republicans in this case, because they're forcing people into these. Electric cars is an easy example. And I will still stand by electric cars are going to be a thing, whether we like it or not. And I know a lot of people will say, well, but the technology and this, and you get into an accident, you can't reuse the battery. I know. And I will go back to every time when they talked about putting man in airplanes. Man will never fly. Too heavy. You can't get enough power to lift something that high that would then carry people. And what is it, 1903, after the Orville brothers' first flight, what was it, less than 20 years later, we were using these things in World War I. When people said, let's go to outer space and send men in. You can't put men in a capsule and send them to the moon. Now we hardly even go. Heck, you can go, if you got a little bit of money and some time this weekend, you can go to outer space. People thought that could never be done. Same thing with electric cars. As much as I dislike electric cars, I believe they're going to be the thing, especially when you take money out of Hannah's purse. Hannah doesn't carry a purse, by the way.
I don't.
So off character for Hannah. But they're taking money out of Hannah's purse.
What do you do with all your stuff?
Like what? I have a wallet and my phone.
I basically carry around like a suitcase.
How many? Can we get a camera into the studio and see, like, every time when Stephanie shows up here, Stephanie from
your purse, Steph.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot.
Can you grab some of your stuff?
Probably can't lift it.
No, I'm not going to embarrass myself.
We need to get the movers in here if they want to show Stephanie stuff on camera. But Stephanie Bell, Ellinger Bell, in Jefferson City, older woman in Ashland, mom and wife, busy, constantly on the go. So when she shows up here, it's like she's moving in. Like there's two men in a moving truck out here every morning at 6 o'clock when she comes.
Steph and her legal briefs.
When I come in the morning, I have a backpack that I put my laptop in, and then I might have a lunchbox, and then my phone. That's really all I got.
Have you ever seen any of these dudes that wear the man purse, or I don't know what the politically correct term is?
A satchel?
A satchel. Do you form an opinion on somebody like that when you see somebody? Honestly,
those are making a reappearance, aren't they?
Yeah, there's some really nice ones in
You
some
know who
shops
says-
in downtown.
You carry a bag around with you everywhere, Brandon.
but it's a backpack.
Yeah, then you look
So?
like a little kid.
All you need to do
You need to get a man bag.
I'm not getting a satchel. Not doing it.
Brandon's got a book bag.
He did finally upgrade his water bottle this week.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Look at that. Adulting and stuff.
No more reusable Gatorade bottle.
I can't.
Very nice.
I don't like those, because then how do you clean that? I'm serious.
Oh, great. The water bottle
I'm
lasted 3 days.
Sorry, but those ones with the straws and the spouts, nope.
It's got to be better than the plastic Gatorade bottle that's not meant to be reused.
Yeah, that's really bad for you.
Where were we? Oh, yeah.
We're talking about F words.
Complaining about Democrats is probably where we left off with, because that is some people's impression of talk radio. That's all I do is complain about Democrats. That's not what we do here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
We complain about everybody.
That's right. We do whatever. And we like to highlight some of the good things, too, like F words that we are really passionate about here in Missouri. So Alford talking about energy yesterday.
Food, fuel, and fertilizer.
3 big things Missourians care about. Offhanded remark, we said, What's an F word that you really care as a Missourian, as a mid-Missourian? Because not only are we in the heart of America by being in the state of Missouri, but where we live here in mid-Missouri, whether you're in the Lakes, whether you're in Marshall this morning, whether you're in Sedalia, Fulton, wherever you are, Wright City, Columbia, Jeff City, Fulton, Holt Summit, we're kind of in the heart of Missouri, in the heart of the country. So what's the F word that as a Missourian you care about? Mark Alford says it's food, fuel, fertilizer. So you can add to it. 874-9390. We've got some good ones. The football. Let's go, Brandon is my favorite F word. It's from a listener. Family. So a lot of good ones this morning.
One of our coworkers texted me and said finances.
Finances. Ray says facts. Another Ray says fishing. We just love this stuff, man. 874-9390. Eric, can't read that one on air, but thank you. New text. Well, I read the name first, didn't read the thing, but we appreciate that, especially if you're a first-time texter. All right, Stephanie Bell. John Marsh is here. Good morning, John.
I have a new F word too.
Okay.
Fungi.
Isn't there a joke?
Yeah, there's a good one in Ashland right now. Like, why does the mushroom always get invited to the party?
Why?
Because he's a fun guy. But no, magic mushrooms is actually on the House floor today, I believe. There's a bill legalizing psychedelics. And it was actually, it went, I think it got to the floor last year, so it was moving last year.
Yeah, Tony Lovasco's bill.
Mm-hmm. And I think this one, it might be Representative Houx's bill, but regardless, we should hear some debate today. We've done cats. We did, what was the other thing we were doing?
Bare knuckle fighting.
Bare knuckle fighting. So we should get to magic mushrooms today, hopefully.
Dude by the name of the Hammer and Hillbilly testified in our state's capital yesterday to legalize bare knuckle fighting. Another dad, so this is kind of a dad joke along the why does the mushroom always get invited to the party? Because he's a fun guy. From Sam, Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd break into a distillery. Daffy turns to Elmer and says, "Is this whiskey?" Elmer says, "Yeah, but it's not as whiskey as robbing a bank."
Very good.
Okay, 87. When you get to the point where you're telling second grade jokes on the show, maybe it's time for Gary Nolan to take over. He'll be here at 9. 874-9390. Karen is in Jefferson City this morning. Karen, welcome into the show. What can we do for you?
Yeah, the F word, floods.
Floods, that's a Midwestern thing. Amen. Karen, you having a good day?
You too.
All right. We appreciate you being a part of the Wake Up Mid-Missouri family. Now we're in Columbia. Alan is in Columbia this morning. What do you have for us, bud?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I really enjoy your all show. It's the first time I've really been able to call in. But I'm happen to be thinking centered around the much maligned school system right now, and I'm thinking of the word fundamentals, which is what we've gotten away from.
Amen, brother. Yeah, you're right. Fundamental. Alan, thank you, everybody here on the show. We appreciate that you would take time out of your day to call and be a part of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. You have a blessed day. Fundamental. The word mental's in it. So is the word fun.
He's right, though. If we focused on reading, writing, I think we'd be better off. If the banks would have focused on, money.
Sam, who's the Sam Bankman-Fried?
SBF.
SBF. Didn't he get popped for something?
He got another charge for bribing officials in China, I believe. I think that brings him up to like 13 charges. It's not good for him.
Anybody? I bought girls. I didn't buy Girl Scout. Oh, another F word, by the way, which reminds me. Can I share this stuff?
Yikes! Yes.
I got a text.
On your personal cell phone.
When it comes to F words.
Oh, God.
It says you can add flirt to your F word list.
Cringe.
Right up there with fanboy.
That's a good one.
By the way, we joke, and I have to say it because every time I say this, there's like 4 or 5 women out there that get really mad. We joke when the girls...
The number grows every time.
When the girls tease me about this roster, we are for real kidding. By the way, which reminds me of a story we did earlier.
Have you picked a date for Hannah's wedding yet, by the way?
Yes, it's October the 14th.
Oh,
I have the date.
I don't think that's what you meant.
Oh.
Okay.
A date.
A second.
A second date. Yeah, I probably know who I'll take. We were talking about...
Do they know?
I don't remember offering a +1.
I'll ask them on the day before the wedding. Oh, by the way, I got this thing this weekend. My dear sweet Hannah is getting married this Saturday. Can you go with me? We were talking about Brian Houseworth and how he's like Leonardo DiCaprio, Bradley Cooper, Keanu Reeves, and that they love their moms very much. They have taken their moms to like the Oscars and things like that. Brian Houseworth is out for the next couple of days taking care of his mom, and I forgot why I was telling that story.
Because Brian Houseworth is your favorite F word.
Could be. Completely forgot. All right, coming up just a few minutes from now, we are going to be doing some leftovers. Now, leftovers, really a lot of good stuff. It's just things that did not fit into the ebb and flow. Oh, so yeah, we're kidding. I don't have a roster or anything like that. I really feel like I did need to, in case any of those 4 or 5 women are listening, we're just kidding. Coming up, we'll be doing some leftovers here on the show. Some things we didn't get into, and then it's the Gary Nolan Show. That's my dad's favorite show.
Here's a big old serving of leftovers. Enjoy.
Leftovers are good today. Sometimes you get in the fridge like, oh, look, we scored on the leftovers. Today's one of those days. Stephanie, what do you have?
There are some pieces of legislation advancing out of the Senate. There was a committee, and they approved, they're saying a half dozen bills. A lot of them related to elections and campaign finance. One, Senator Rowden's bill, deals with the Ethics Commission, and it would extend the deadline in circumstances. In certain circumstances, I guess a couple of years ago. So typically our candidates and PAC folks have to file reports on certain deadlines. And the Ethics Commission is one of the only entities where the deadline's still 5 p.m. I really like the midnight, courts are midnight and Public Service Commission's midnight. But if you put that 5 p.m. deadline, we're all and lawyers are procrastinators, and I think politicians are procrastinators. So it's like Ticketmaster on that 5 p.m. deadline. Everyone's trying to file at once. So sometimes the system crashes, and usually it's gotten a lot better over the years. But I guess there was a power outage right when the deadline happened, and people couldn't get their report filed on time and said, hey, there was a power outage, couldn't get our stuff filed. And the Ethics Commission went to the legislature and said, we're a creature of statute. We can only do what you authorize us to do. And there's no mechanism by which we can basically say, yeah, we had a problem and we're going to give you an extra couple days. So that's what Rowden's bill will do. And again, there's other stuff moving on elections and campaign finance. But I thought that one's probably, giving people a little bit of leeway here and there and giving the Ethics Commission a little bit of discretion.
And we're starting so we're almost into April, Saturday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Legislative session ends. I don't know the exact date in May.
Oh, it's on. The first is on Saturday. Man, I'm glad I'm not here with you guys. I was so nervous the first year I was here I'm like, these people are gonna prank me.
By the way, I know a couple getting married on April Fool's Day.
What?
And I feel like that is a bad omen.
I love their sense of humor.
Yeah.
Was that intentional, or was
if you knew the couple, you'd say, oh yeah, it makes sense.
All right.
Everybody will show up at the church and they won't be there.
You'll never forget your anniversary, though.
So, story about forgetting anniversaries.
Oh, boy.
Second.
You haven't named that as your favorite F word. Forgetful.
Forgetful. Years ago, mountain biking, and me and the second wife number 2, were mountain biking, and I'm going to unlock the bikes, and I go to the combination code, and I said, her name was Jennifer. I said, Jennifer, what's the code for the lock? And she's like, you dummy, it's our wedding anniversary. I'm like, ooh.
It's a trap.
Crap. Couldn't remember it.
This lock's broken.
Something's wrong here. Why don't you do it? I did want to mention this in Moberly, Ashland. Locations are going to be sold. The Ashland Tractor Supply Company, I think the company bought a year ago. There's a new company coming in, but it's going to affect, not necessarily lose, but about 122 jobs. And you take a town the size of Moberly, that gets some traction in any of our small mid-Missouri towns. Apparently, the company, most of those are going to retain their jobs. 32 positions are going to be eliminated. ABC 17, our news partner, spoke with Randolph County Presiding Commissioner Sid Conklin.
What we can do as a collective effort to try to look at other opportunities for these employers or employees, rather.
So they're saying, hey, we'll see what we can find for you because we want you to stay right where you are. Marsh, what do you have for leftovers?
Well, maybe an opportunity for some new jobs. That proposed family resort in Osage Beach will feature a 400-room Marriott hotel. This is the Oasis at Lakeport, $350 million entertainment district to go in near the Grand Glazed Bridge, have an amusement park, a water park, and more. So maybe there's some potential jobs there for folks at the lake.
I wonder about the potential for housing. There
you go.
So these people potentially get jobs. Are they going to have affordable? Because a lot of these, obviously, they would be service industry jobs, not demeaning them, but those service industry jobs oftentimes come with service industry pay, and it can be a challenge to find places to live when you're making service industry pay. So a lot of folks excited about that. Girl Scouts apparently took it on the chin a little bit this year. I thought they do well every year, and sales are huge, but this is something I think we had talked about. We probably something Something that we probably covered in What's Hot with Hannah one morning. We do that every morning, 7:25-ish. Just kind of like fun stuff in the news. Did we talk about one of the new Girl Scout cookie flavors this year?
Yeah, the raspberry rallies.
Yeah. Apparently.
People were selling them on eBay for like $150.
Yeah. And apparently, the Girl Scouts kind of, I guess, almost pulled a Ticketmaster. They were like, people are going to want to buy this cookie. Ticketmaster kind of, when they got caught flat-footed when the Taylor Swift concert ticket. People want to buy Taylor Swift concert tickets? We didn't know the demand would be this huge. Apparently, Girl Scouts kind of got in the same situation. The much-hyped Rally, which is a raspberry-flavored spin on the Thin Mint, was only supposed to be limited anyway, but people apparently loved them so much they got upset.
I think they were only sold online, weren't they?
Oh, it could be. Has anybody tasted those? I'm not a big fan of the Thin Mints. As a matter of fact, I know every year, usually in polling, Thin Mint's #1, probably my least favorite. I like the chocolate, caramel, and coconut thing, whatever that's called.
You prefer coconut over mint?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that coconut one is really good. I have a friend who tasted one, and they said it was really good.
The Raspberry Rally?
Mhm.
It'd be interesting to hear about those. 874-9390. Guess what? You are in for a real treat